Today is December 23rd, 2022. The time is 11:09 a.m. And today I'm going to start my thoughts and comments on an article that is written in the Somali National News Agency. And the title of this article is 67 Al-Shabaab militants killed in a joint operation in Middle Shabelle region. It says 67 Al-Shabaab militants were killed and others injured in a joint operation by Somali National Army's Danab unit and international partners at El Bayad location in the middle of Shabelle region overnight. That region is right here. Let's take a peek at it on the map. This right here is Balkad. Let me get out of that. This is Balkad. And the area that they're talking about, where this where these 67 Al-Shabaab terrorists were killed, is in this area that's outlined on the map. You will note that there are no street names. The streets are not named, and the houses have no numbers. Unnamed streets, buildings, and homes do not have numbers. How are precision strikes conducted without streets having names and buildings having numbers? You'll note that in this article, it is saying that this joint operation took place overnight. Why would they conduct a raid overnight when children are awakened from their sleep? This is horrifying. Now, I started this video and I didn't absolutely tell you what the title is. And the title of this video is, Where's the Money? Al-Shabaab terrorists finance terrorism around the globe. It is alleged that the Al-Shabaab terrorist network accumulates $100 million in unregulated currency. So this entire terrorist network utilizes the US dollar to buy weapons of mass destruction to terrorize the globe. And this financial network collects daily 100 or $300,000 in US currency daily. When people travel down roads, such as a road like this, Al-Shabaab collects money. They collect tolls from roadside checkpoints, and they collect this money in US dollars with an equivalence of 300,000 US unregulated dollars per day. So when Al-Shabaab militants are killed in areas such as this, they have money. And the title of the video is, Where is the Money? And when you read the article, it says that this was taking place overnight. So did they follow all the protocols? It says U.S. Africa Command strike process. It says U.S. Africa Command airstrikes fall into two broad categories. deliberate, and defensive. Was this a deliberate strike? Because it happened at night. So it says the U.S. Africa Command deliberate targeting process employs many specialized personnel through multiple levels of review and oversight. During the target identification and nomination process, military lawyers conduct a review to determine that the identified individual or individuals are legal combatants under the law of armed conflict. Now that's interesting because, that's similar to the due process law here. And how much of it is true, I don't know. I'm just saying they have a process. So I'm assuming that these Al-Shabaab people are killed, but before they're killed, they're given their due process because that's what that's what this is saying to me. They get due process. My question here is, why did they do this overnight? It says here, they did this overnight. I mean, I'm sure the children were traumatized by the sounds of the gunfire, the witnessing the bloodshed. I'm sure the children were traumatized by this. There's a better way of doing things. So this happened today, December 23rd, 2022. The federal government of Somalia on December 18th, 2022 state that at the request of the federal government of Somalia, U.S. Africa Command conducted 2 collective self-defense strikes, one each on December 14th and 17th, in support of the Somali National Army. This was in Kidal, Somalia. 15 people were killed. On November 5th, 2022, in support of the federal government of Somalia, ongoing operations against Al-Shabaab, U.S. Africa Command conducted a collective self-defense strike against Al-Shabaab terrorists who were attacking Somali National Army forces near Kidal, Somalia on November 3rd, 2022. 15 Al-Shabaab terrorists were killed. Let's go to that area. This right here is Kidal, and you can see that the schools are temporarily closed. Temporarily closed. Children are traumatized by these strikes on Al-Shabaab. You know, what if these Al-Shabaab people are their parents? What if it's a 3-year-old baby or a 7-month-old baby and your parents are identified as Al-Shabaab terrorists? What becomes of you, the child? Why did they conduct this strike at night? You will also know. That makes it even more difficult. Unnamed streets. You will see all around this area in Kidal where these strikes took place. These streets are unnamed. These are unnamed streets. The homes are they do not have numbers. So how do you do a precision strike? Precision strike. Unnamed buildings. Unnamed streets, unnumbered buildings. How in the dark? It does not appear that there's any street lights there, so there's probably pure darkness. And you've got children crying, you've got gunfire, you've got screaming, and the schools are temporarily closed. There has to be a better way than to terrorize children like this with this war on terror. On December 19th, 2022, Army Chief states 150 Al-Shabaab militants killed in an ongoing military operation. Now, this area that these people were killed in, these Al-Shabaab terrorists, they were killed in Aden Yabal. Aden Yabal. They killed 150 people in one town. This is Aden Yabal. This right here is Aden Yabal. And it looks like a ghost town. Google does not indicate any commerce doesn't indicate any community activity. As you see here in Bulkhead, these are look these little notifications here. This is obvious community activity. Even though the schools were closed, there were schools there because there were children there. But when you look at Aden at Yabal, where 150 people were killed, that's the entire town. There's no life here. This is total death and destruction. Again, I ask you, with 150 people killed, with Al-Shabaab being responsible for financing all the terror groups all around the globe, and their main source of income is roadside checkpoints to collect money, how do they collect money from people if they use roadside bombs? I probably mentioned that before. It just does not make sense to me that Al Shabaab would use roadside bombs to affect their ability to collect money to finance terrorism all around the world. I mean, Al Shabaab is collecting huge amounts of money, unregulated US dollars, to buy weapons to terrorize the entire, and they're losing the battle because look at this. This is a ghost town, and the the army chief says 150. He looks like a little boy himself. 150 people were killed. So with Al Shabaab collecting all this money, how much money was collected from Al Shabaab when they killed 150 people in Aden Yabal? Where's this unregulated money going? When they're killing these terrorists, what's happening with this unregulated money? On December 13th, the president of Somalia, the president of Niger met with the U.S. Department of Defense. President Eisenhower had the best response to this meeting. President, okay, let me download this. President Eisenhower stated in his farewell address to the United States of North America, he states, in the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. U.S. AFRICOM is unwarranted influence. This is pure unwarranted influence. Unwarranted influence. They're spreading war. But we don't want war. President Eisenhower had this to say. Disarmament with mutual honor and confidence is a continuing imperative. That's my goal. Disarmament, world disarmament. He goes on further to uh, state Together, we must learn how to compose differences, not with arms, but with intellect and decent purpose. We ha- Somalia must defeat Al-Shabaab with intellect, not with arms. I'm going to leave it there.